In this video, we'll continue the IPython session from the preceding video, and we'll keep working with our list called numbers, this time to modify the contents of the list using slicing operations. So let me paste in our initial slice operation that we're going to discuss here. We have the list numbers, and we're saying select the subset of that list, or the slice of that list, from index 0 up to but not including index 3. Now, just at the top here, here's the original list that we're talking about. So from index 0, we're going to go 0, 1, 2, up to but not including index position 3. So we're talking about the slice containing 2, 3, and 5, and we're going to assign to that slice this list with the same number of elements, in this case 2, 3, and 5, as the words that we would like to replace the numeric values. And by the way, when you're assigning to a slice, you do not need to have the same number of elements in the new slice as in the original slice. So you can actually change the size of a slice by assigning a sequence of values to that slice, and we'll talk about that a couple of times in this video. So let's execute that, and of course, to check what's now in the list numbers, we can evaluate it, and you can see that we've replaced the first 3 elements with the word equivalents of those values. Now, in addition to simply replacing values within a slice, we can delete elements using slice notation as well. So for example, if I say numbers sub 0, 3 again, we're still selecting the first 3 elements of that list. And if we assign to that an empty list, that literally says delete that slice from the original list. So in this case, to prove that, we can go ahead and say numbers, and now you see the first 3 elements have been physically removed from the list. Now, so far we've demonstrated a couple of modification operations. Let's bring back the original list for the next operation that we're going to present to you. And by the way, here's a handy little trick that you can use to recall a prior snippet. So I know at some point previously I assigned something to the variable numbers. If I type in the beginning of that assignment and hit the up arrow key, it will recall the last statement that started with what I had typed so far. So I'm now going to reset the variable numbers to a list containing the same values that we started with in the preceding video. Now, we can assign slices to the list in non-consecutive elements, and so that's what I want to demonstrate next here. So if I say numbers : 2, that says for every other element starting from the first element of the list numbers, we would like to select that slice. And let's say we wanted to assign the value 100 to every other element. So we have 8 elements. In this case, we want to place 100 into element 0, 2, 4, and 6. So as a result of this, it's going to take the first value in the right hand side and place it into the first element of the resulting slice. The second value on the right hand side will be placed into the second element of the resulting slice, and we'll do the same thing for the third and fourth elements of the resulting slice as well. And of course, if we now say numbers, you can see the 4 100 values placed into the corresponding locations within that list. Now, for the next part of this example, the first thing I want to do is just take the ID of numbers, because I want to show you when new objects are being created versus modifying the existing object. So we'll simply leave this here for the next part of the discussion. So we showed you up above that you can assign an empty list to a slice to delete elements from that list. Well, it turns out that you can use that technique to delete all the elements of the list as well. So for example, if I say numbers sub : like that, it's going to implicitly insert the 0 for the starting index and the length of numbers for the ending index. And I can then assign to that an empty list, which literally deletes all the elements from the original list. So if I go ahead and execute that operation, I can evaluate numbers to see that indeed it's empty. And I just want to prove to you that it's the same list object still. So let me recall my ID expression here. And when I execute that, you can see that the IDs of these two objects are identical. So it's still the same numbers list. We've simply deleted all the elements by using a slice operation on the left side of the assignment. Now that's very different from doing this assignment, which simply aims the variable numbers at a completely new list object that contains no elements. So let's go ahead and execute that. And of course, if we evaluate numbers, we still see that it's empty. But if we recall that ID expression once again, you can see this time that indeed we have a new object identity. So this was a physically new object as opposed to modifying the existing one.